Thank you so much. So, imagine you're a farmer or a fisher in rural Rwanda. Your two biggest problems are energy access and market access, and I'm here to tell you how DGrid can help you respond to both of those problems. The issue, broadly speaking, is that rural smallholder farmers cannot store their agricultural products. They can't get those products to market. Those products spoil, and the farmers themselves, they lose time, they lose money. Energy poverty hurts businesses, economy, contributes to food insecurity, and health, economic outcomes all suffer. Moreover, an enormous portion of the world's population is reliant on agriculture for its daily well-being. So this translates to an opportunity for companies like DGrid. Global cold chain markets are dynamic, large, and growing really, really rapidly, as you can see. To give a sense of the size, over a billion and a half people globally don't have modern clean energy access. And there are over 175 million smallholder farmers in sub-Saharan Africa alone. So right now, the status quo is that farmers typically waste a lot of food, 60 to 70% in many cases, and they don't have reliable access to energy at all. And if they do, they use inefficient and polluting fuels like diesel. So energy is a huge problem. Many families spend as much as 40 to 50% of their disposable income on energy consumption, especially if they're using diesel. The World Bank in their enterprises surveys point to energy access as one of the top couple priorities and problems for businesses of all sizes, really. And yet, easy changes, not easy, but simple changes to the cold chain global system would respond to these problems and improve farmers' margins and well-being dramatically, as much as 2 to 3 times, and that's a conservative estimate. So for our system, depending on the place in the crops, the investment could be paid off between 1 and 3 years, and at that point it would be no cost. So what is the system? DGrid manufactures solar-powered walk-in refrigeration systems. They can be connected to standalone or mini-grid solar applications. They're adaptable, highly adaptable actually. They're modular in design. They're resilient to extreme weather, which is really important in places that we're operating. They're food safe, which is obviously important because we're storing food. And they're really easy to maintain and install, which makes operating in tough, challenging, and sometimes conflict-prone areas much, much easier. So I've thrown ahead the unit economics, but what I really want to stress is that it's important to note that our market selection is crucial, and pursuing key partnerships here is crucial. What we're doing for our go-to-market strategy, what we're doing is developing those partnerships and leveraging them, building a sales pipeline through that, leveraging those projects for more exposure and recognition, working in emerging countries, particularly with low energy infrastructure and high agricultural demand and a high reliance on agriculture for daily well-being. Now, this isn't an empty marketplace by any means. There are other companies who are doing this, but we're actually very confident that the other groups, that DGrid's particular advantages make it the most competitive. They're durable, adaptable. You can put them together with a very small wrench, just one wrench actually, which is pretty impressive. Being food grade and using the high quality componentry that we do is a rarity in this field. And the resiliency is crucial because we're targeting places where not only resilience to weather, but also resilience to potential social and political factors is really important. So we're not the cheapest, but we think that we're the best in all the things that matter. The team's the right team to get it there. Jean Faison has 4 decades of experience doing building businesses in the international context. He's the CEO. Rusty Eason has a couple of decades of agricultural experience, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, which is the primary market we're initially targeting. Nick Wynn is the Chief Technical Officer and has 3 decades of refrigeration experience and multiple patents. I've joined the team recently, and I have 10 years of experience in the international context, and I'm an energy specialist. Christopher Lord and Paul Schmudaloka are both advisors that have been aboard for a while. We're really excited about our current financial projections, and we feel we're building a lot of momentum. We've got about $1 million to $1.5 million in a sales pipeline that we've already built. And we've done this through key partnerships with NGOs, research institutes, governments. And we expect a lot of growth in our two key target markets, which are right now DRC Congo and Rwanda. We also expect to be building revenue eventually through a third-party leasing model, wherein DGrid will own and operate CoolCube units and lease out agricultural space to smallholder farmers. We're hoping for an exit within 3 years, and we're also hoping that exit will bring better production and distribution networks as well as more capital. This summer, really excited about the progress. We've got an install going in DRC right now, a commercial install, and we've also got a project that's about to be an install that's a grant-funded project in Rwanda in an agricultural cooperative. We're really excited about those, partly because we're going to be able to collect a lot of data and talk about impact a lot better. So what we're asking for is $450,000. We'll use it for hiring core staff, production and distribution, improving those channels, building partnerships and marketing and sales. We're also interested in general in facilitating connections with new partners, governments, multilaterals, and connecting with relevant talent networks. So I'm here. Thank you so much for your time. I'm here. I'd love to talk to every one of you. And you can also get in touch with Jean Faison, who's the CEO, at this contact information. Thanks so much.
Hey, great presentation. I was just wondering if you could shed a little bit of light on who the end user would be and what that relationship would be like with the NGOs that you're signing agreements with.
Yeah, great question. So the end user in almost all cases is going to be that smallholder farmer. It's going to be important for us right now to go through better established channels. So that's why we've chosen to partner with the governments. We've got MOUs signed with the Ministry of Agriculture in DRC and Rwanda, and we've got relationships with IFPRI, the Food Policy Research Institute, and IFAD. So we're using those relationships to build the connection with the local smallholder farmers, partly because, commercially speaking, it's hard right now for a smallholder farmer in DRC to be able to afford the initial cost of the technology. But by spreading the risk and the reward among a broader population, say an agricultural cooperative, that spreads it and makes it more feasible. So our relationship would be working directly with our partners and the local farmers who would be the end users.
So would local farmers pay per square foot in the cooling unit, or how would that work?
So we've got a couple of different models. The third-party leasing model would be that, where it would be owned by either DGrid or someone who purchased it and leased agricultural storage to a small-scale farmer, and they would pay in small installments, say daily or weekly, in very small amounts for their storage. These systems are 20 cubic meters, so they can accommodate quite a bit of agricultural product. The other model would be simply that an agricultural cooperative could buy a unit and spread it over its own members. In that case, DGrid would always go and install and do a training on on use and maintenance and that sort of thing. And in that case, a direct relationship would be formed with the local cooperative. So right now, for example, I can put it concretely if it helps. In Rwanda, we're working directly with cooperatives. The agreement itself that we've signed, the MOU, is with IFAD and with the Ministry of Agriculture, but we still liaise directly with the smallholder farmers through their cooperative.
Can I ask if this technology is owned by you, or have you leased it or licensed it from somewhere else? Is this your technology for this unit?
Yes, the CoolCube is. Some of the alternative products were developed by other people, but the CoolCube is owned by DGrid, yes.
And did you talk about what you think you're going to lease or sell each of these cubes for?
So yeah, the basic price it depends on the solar system exactly, because these are intended to be used with standalone systems for the most part, and so depending on the exact load, it varies slightly, but around 48 to 52,000 for a unit. That's for the 20 cubic meter unit. It goes up from there. They can be expandable in increments of 20. And those can be partitioned and have different energy demands, obviously, because
Are these working somewhere else in the meanwhile? Have you tested them? Are they somewhere in the US?
yeah, there's actually one. Everybody can come see it. There's actually one in here in DC in UDC, the University of District of Columbia. There's also one on a farm in Beltsville. So yeah, we've tested the technology. The technology is well proven, and we're trying to build the international engagement right now.
Let's skip to dessert. So can you elaborate on the exit plan? I know it's a little early, but.
Yeah, yes. So we think that if we can build the right partnerships and increase our sales pipeline right now, that within a few years we'll be a great candidate for acquisition. And we think that with that will come much better production and distribution channels. That's because right now it's a little expensive. Our existing infrastructure for production and distribution is more expensive than we want it to be. So that's why we think, though, that with the right channels and infrastructure in place, the technology is absolutely solid and ready to go.
Who would acquire?
We think that
Best case scenario.
Yeah, best case scenario is someone like Caterpillar, yeah.
And if I could just follow on with that, what about what you're doing right now would make you so valuable to Caterpillar in 3 years?
Well, the technology itself, DGrid is the owner of the patent, and the technology is a big, and I think that a company, I think that a company like that could see the raw form and say, we can do a lot with our networks and distribution channels and production channels and this product. So I think that's the basic case. But I think we're working on building right now our momentum in 2 key markets at the moment, and hopefully expanding quite a bit from there.
You know what I forgot to mention earlier is last time we did this in December, somebody said, you really need more audience engagement. So we actually built in extra time for each of the speakers. So we're going to get some audience engagement. So Molly, would you mind coming down front and being the mic runner to take, we probably have at least time for one question from the audience. As long as we have time.
I can hear you.
How big is the solar array? Is it on the roof, or is it next door? Is it a ground mount? I mean, how much do you need? And is the solar panels, are they part of that $52,000?
So to the last one, yes, and to the first one, yes, it can be on the roof. They can also be ground mounted if it's part of a mini grid. It would depend. So it can be set up to a mini grid, or it can be with a standalone system. Typically, it would be on the roof if it's the standalone option, but it can be ground mounted. The actual array depends, but I think the system in UDC is a standalone and has a 3 kilowatt array, although I'm not 100% sure about that.
Thank you.
We have time for one more question.
John Curry from Parmentech. Why does Caterpillar want DGrid?
Because DGrid is positioning itself as a premier provider of cold chain solutions. The technology is more durable, resilient, higher quality, it's food grade. The technology is better than what's out there. And DGrid's current gap is finance and production and distribution channels. Once DGrid builds its momentum and sales in its key markets, then there won't be that gap. And I think that a company that has those channels, those production and distribution networks, can do a lot more with the technology that DGrid has.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Thank you so much.